Now we invite Anatoly Komirny, Deputy Minister of Communities, Territories, and Infrastructure Development of Ukraine. In person, I shook his hand earlier.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, partners, dear partners. On behalf of the Ministry of Restoration, I want to thank the Government of Canada, Canadian Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce for organization of this event. We hear a lot about support. We want to say thanks about support of Canadians to Ukraine, but I want to talk a little bit about business opportunity for Canadian, because we realize that private sector always plays a crucial role in further restoration process, and we as government we will do our best to create favorable conditions for business operations and development in Ukraine. We understand, I see this. We understand what need to do for do this in more transparent way, all restoration process. So we, from the scratch, goes to the classical approach for Ukraine, for us. We start use new digital tool. We call it DREAM system. It's digital restoration ecosystem for accountable management. Sorry. And for us, it's a good example to show our transparent approach for this. DREAM was development and launched in Ukraine from the scratch. It allows communities to submit their projects and show the stage of their implementation and results, and donor and Ukrainian authorities to see where the funds are going. The DREAM system prevents corruption and manage reconstruction process. It is important for us that communities use resource daily, and we have included these tools in the working mechanism of the Fund of Limitation of the Consequences of Armed Aggression, and we will continue to work to ensure that this tool is end-to-end. Regional and local authorities submit projects for construction and restoring multi-apartment buildings, medical facilities, school and kindergartens, communal infrastructure facilities, and construction protective civil defense structures, precisely through the DREAM ecosystem. Hope this system will also be a good tool for the private sector to find their place in the restoration processes. The IFC prepared the assessment of business involvement in restoration process. Private sector can address 1/3 of RDNA2 needs, supported by reform agenda. Among the key sectors, the IFC defines in its report the following ones: that the most favorable of business traction is agriculture, industrial parks, finance and banking, housing, telecom, energy and extractives, transport, health, and education. Sorry. With the efficient reforms agenda, this sector with private business can generate up to 130 billion US dollars. The existing portfolio, thanks a lot. The existing portfolio of restoration FI investment projects consists of joint projects with the EBRD, European Investment Bank, World Bank, KfW, and JICA, etc. We procure various works and services, including, but not limited to, the civil construction, projects implementation, and support services at third-party agencies. We are also dedicated to procuring capacity building and trenching service for further sector development. It is worth mentioning that these procurements of IFI funded and therefore ensure transparency and accountability of the whole sector process that being monitored by our partners. Finally, if we talk about priorities, for next year sectors are almost the same. It's energy, house and utilities, social infrastructure and services, transportation and logistics, industry and services, and cross-sector demand and emergency response, and of course, digitalization. Also, we understand that such big restoration needs development of the processing industries, especially production of construction materials. Last year's USAID study, Localization of Recovery in Ukraine, showed that Ukrainian producers can provide about 90% of the construction materials needed to rebuild restoration facilities. As an assessment of the level of production of basic construction materials in Ukraine shows that we have shortage of manufacturing capacity to produce a number of products that are and will critically needed during the rebuilding process. At the same time, entering this market will allow the business to secure sales markets and ensure stable commercial profits. There is. We propose to business the following mechanism of support: industrial parks, tax and custom incentives, compensation of some expenses. Invest Nanny is stimulation of large-scale investment project, amount of investment from 12 million euro, tax and custom incentives, provision of infrastructure. Potential examples of important initiatives: production of sheet glass in Ukraine, no single plant for today, bitumen, new plants and joint ventures, concrete plants, etc. Production of the equipment and machines, engineering services, and construction buildings, bridges, and social infrastructure objects. It's just a little part of the needs of Ukraine restoration processes. In addition to the significant demand for construction materials and construction services during the recovery process, we also considered PPP as a powerful development tool and opportunity for business to participate in recovery of Ukraine. For example, there is need for the construction of adult children regional hospitals, 42 projects in total, with the cost of from the 80 to 250 million US dollars per hospital. The construction of rehabilitation centers with the cost from 70 to 80 million US dollars per center are also promoted PPP project. Concerning houses, we see potential for PPP projects with municipalities that suffer from the huge number of IDPs, such as project is implemented by EU in Lviv. Despite the closure of ports due to Russian aggression, Ukraine plans for the development of ports on Black Sea and Danube River. Some selected projects on the screen: concession of the container terminals in the port Chernomorsk, tender preparation starts in 2021, and tender is planned to be in 2024. Concessions of the ferry complex in Port Chernomorsk, tender preparation started in also in 2021, and tender planned to be held in 2024. Development of Ukraine's Danube port cluster, including belt constructions, branding works, terminal expansion, and fleet renewal. But we fully understand that the main concerns are guarantees for loan and war risk insurance. The availability to insurance from the various providers is critical for private sector investments, including property, ship cargo, personal travel, crop, and living stock insurance. MIGA and DFC are already insuring investment in Ukraine. Also, each country presents in the scheme of infrastructure, like Germany, Poland, France, etc. Also, the EBRD will provide new support for boosting provision of infrastructure against war-related risk in Ukraine. The UK support for the EBRD initiative was expressed in signed statement for intent last month. In order to ensure the safety of shipping and promote stability of maritime transport, favorable conditions will be created operations through the signing of reimbursement agreement between Ukraine, Export Credit and Agency, and the companies Marsh McLennan, Lloyd of London, and Escott. The agreement will be ensure payment of compensation to insurance and reinsurance companies for expenses they incur in connection with of insurance and reinsurance contracts. The government of Ukraine is doing everything to create best conditions for investment and recovery. We are ready to dialogue on how to make better conditions for you and for us. So do not hesitate, invest in Ukraine, be part of our restoration. Thank you all.
And now joining us online, we have Rostislav Shurma, head of the Presidential Office of Ukraine.
I hope you hear me well. Let me thank you, first of all, for your interest to the Recovery Conference of Ukraine, for your attention, for your time, and for your willingness to look for our case. We frankly see and believe that the majority of the Ukrainian recovery should be built with, should be done with the resources and with the capacity of the private business. But unfortunately, due to the high military risks that you have discussed already, the pure business ventures perhaps will be quite complicated for any type of the investor at the moment. That's why we believe that this should be the true blending of the private-public partnerships of the national corporations, specifically the Canadian one and the Canadian government, who has strongly backed the Ukraine for the last 2 years. Different options are possible how to implement these vehicles. We have a good examples already from the governments like the Germany, like the France, who provide the insurance for basically all their national corporations investing in Ukraine. We believe that this type of partnership will help to achieve the two key targets. On one side, you'll get the potentially good returns that you can get in Ukraine, but Ukraine has the natural strong competitive advantage. But at the same time, with the government backing, you'll be able to mitigate the risks that exist in Ukraine due to the military situation. Now, if we speak about the business cases, obviously, all of you do understand your opportunities at the Ukrainian market and at the regional market much better even than any government official. But how do we see this? We see two segments of opportunities. The first one, which is connected with the domestic market and specifically recovery. And the second one is connected with the strong Ukrainian competitive advantage, where Ukraine can do something much better than the other countries can offer. If we speak about the domestic opportunities, I think there are very good examples that already started the implementation in Ukraine. We have a very good case of Westinghouse, who is together with us leading the process of converting our nuclear stations from the Russian nuclear fuel to the one which is being produced by Westinghouse. So we are quite well on the track, moving one reactor after another. Just like a month ago, we've converted another reactor to the Westinghouse fuel, and we are at the full pace to do the full conversion of all the fuel to the Westinghouse supplies. This is the very good example of the Ukrainian market for the Canadian corporations. The other examples might be the potential projects that are being discussed, like with your construction corporation IACON for the recovery of the Kakhovka Dam, which potentially will be bigger than 1 billion project, 1 billion contract, potentially for the Canadian corporation in Ukraine. As well, there are other private segments. For example, if you look at our agri business, this is the huge consumer of not just to supply those products, but to localize the production in Ukraine. The other item relates to the strong competitive advantage of Ukraine on the regional market. As well, here is a dozen of industries where Canadian corporations can find the ground to supply the whole European continent. And just a few examples of them is the agri-food, any type of agri products being produced from Ukrainian grain and maize will be one of the most competitive at the European continent. For example, we can look at the chicken. The chicken produced in Ukraine perhaps is the cheapest possible chicken globally due to the natural competitive advantages that we have. Another part is about the energy resources, starting from the classical oil and gas. Ukraine owns the biggest gas deposits in the European continent, which still will be the transitional fuel for quite a long. And the potential of the exploration, drilling, and supply of the gas from Ukraine to the European continent is about the billions of cubic meters per year. At the same time, we have the huge renewable potential, starting from the solar and wind up to the hydrogen, where the Europe defined Ukraine as one of the potentially biggest suppliers of the hydrogen to the European market in the nearest decades. All those are the opportunities for you in Ukraine. As well, there are other segments where your companies are extremely strong and globally competitive. The segments like the wood processing and the pulp production, where both domestic market provides the good opportunities, and the European market will be quite hungry, assuming the phasing out of Russian products from the European market. And critical minerals, there is the whole bunch of that, starting from lithium, ending up with graphite and uranium deposits in Ukraine, which were open for the partnerships with the Canadian. Finally, to make all those projects work, there should be a strong government backing. Different tools might be applied, starting from the classical ECAs, export credit agencies, state guarantees, special vehicles that potentially you can establish to support your business to come to Ukraine. Just to re-emphasize, we do understand that we should offer you something that is really competitive. We should offer you the true business opportunities, because the real recovery and really big investments can come only as the business investments, but not as a philanthropy. So Ukraine really, and Ukrainian people really values and is really thankful to Canada and Canadian people for the support that you have done. And we are really looking forward for you to come and invest in Ukraine. Thank you.